Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds Tales podcast. This is going to be part two. Welcome, everybody, to the Hounds Tales podcast. This is your home for field trialing and deer dog hunting. It'll be stories and discussions on the world of dog hunting. So let's drop the gate, cast your hounds, and get ready for another episode of the Hounds Tales podcast. The Hounds Tales podcast is proud to partner with Outdoor Dog Supply yet again for the 2026 year. Outdoor Dog Supply is the leader in online garment sales with their world-class trade-in programs. These guys are not just a business, they are houndsmen and women too. They test their products out there in the field and put them to the test every day during hunting season and field trial season, guys. Get the latest in garment equipment, stay locked and ready with field trial equipment, collars, leashes, and so much more. Visit their website today at outdoordogsupply.com, and we want to thank Outdoor Dog Supply again for their support, not only for the podcast, but for field trials across the country, our help in fighting to keep our rights as houndsmen and women across the states. And when you're looking for your next purchase and equipment, keep Outdoor Dog Supply in mind. Now, let's get this episode going, guys.
What I like is a dog that, and I got several of them now, that when they do catch the front and that thing gets exciting, they got a real good pull to the mouth. You just stretch it right on out and makes you excited, makes dogs excited. They get to them and then it turns into a chop. And I got several that will do that, and that to me is good enough for me. If they'll pull that thing out when they get on the front one time, and they getting close, and that thing smells good, and they'll get them dogs excited and get them pulled up. That's as good as I want.
That is the main. I think that's the main goal to, other than just enjoying a race. That is the main goal of having a big mouth dog. Is being able to pull up the rest of them that I'm hauling up here to where I want him to be. But also on the flip side, it can hurt. It'll hurt you. With them dogs like that will tell on themselves very quickly. They can't hide. Everything they do, it's either gonna be right or wrong, and you're gonna know it because it's so dramatic with their bark. It'll tell on them. And I think it's kind of, especially I think why people's gotten away from the mouths. What I've noticed field trialing wise, there's a couple of my little gyps here that's got astronomical mouths, and they will make a field trial. Absolutely make one, and it makes dogs look so good. And they're the one doing the work, but that mouth just draws so much attention to them. You will never see one of them running alone. Never. They get covered up so much, and I'm fine with that because I understand, what is going on. But it's amazing to me what people, you can sit there and listen to people and some of them like it, and some of them, don't even really notice. They just look at the ones in the front. But it's amazing to me that that mouth, how much of a mouth on a dog affects the ones around them. Because it will tremendously. But let's dive into the breeding thing. What traits do you refuse to compromise on when breeding hounds?
Running nose. The ability to turn with a piece of game and not miss. That's to me. That's the key to it all. To run a piece of game with speed is about efficiency, and it don't matter how fast you are. If you stop and tie your shoes every little couple hundred yards, I'm gonna beat you. Don't miss them.
100%.
And I breed for hounds, and this is specific. And I've told you this before. They can run him where he goes with their head. To me, there's no more efficient way to run an animal than lift your head up and turn him when he turns. And if a dog's got to put their nose down to figure him out here, there, and do whatnot, don't too much matter. But for the most part, that's what I look for. Give me the third place dog that when the other first two's ambling around in the road because they can't figure him out, that runs right through him like they can see his scent trail. Now, give me that dog all day long.
That is one of the biggest things I look for when running puppies. And that's another I'll ask that in a minute.
And there's some more things that I desire. Um, that's the utmost importance right there. But they got to be clean. I like a real clean dog that don't bark very much. I like them to look pretty good. I can sacrifice a touch of looks, and they got to have a certain amount of athleticism. And athleticism isn't just moving hard all the time. I like that, but I want to like a big old male dog that's just coming to his own. If he's got a good graceful move at 8 months old, if he flicks his ankles and he's crossed the ditch like it ain't nothing, carries his tail well, does all, and just looks like he's floating, he's got a pretty good chance staying in my house with their own self.
I agree.
But running those is of the utmost importance. And a lot of people say nose, they think trailer and hunting all that. I'm talking about
You can run something.
yeah.
And I think, man, this is a whole nother rabbit hole. I see on Facebook all the time. Too slow for me. He's too track minded. May make a deer dog, and nothing irks me no more than after read those comments. I'm like, track minded dogs. There's a difference in Basically, you're saying he's too slow. You're not saying he's too track minded. Track minded has nothing to do with him straddling it. To us, when we talk about a track minded dog, or how he can run something, we're talking about how well he can stick his nose in something's rump and keep it there, not follow behind him. It's easy for a dog to not lose it when he's not pushing himself, and I kind of I'm almost a little contradicting myself, because I want my males to almost outrun their nose, and I want my gyps to be where they need to be. And the reason for that being, one, my males are generally going to be a little bit more aggressive. They're going to help, put an end to a race a lot quicker. Not saying that's in all, but the way my dogs are bred, that's just kind of how it falls out. The gyps are going to be more, or your backbone, and your males are going to be what's kind of coming around a little bit, and tightening up on him. I'm okay with my males overrunning it some, as long as my gyps are behind them, correcting them. And raising puppies, that's one thing I really, really look for. And when I say overrunning, I'm not talking about just lose it every turn he makes, but I'm okay with my males missing it a little bit more than my gyps. I'm not okay with my gyps missing it at all. They need to be, every time he takes a left, they need to take a left. And that is a little contradicting, but when you're trying to put a pack of dogs together, you don't need 8 of them doing the same thing. Every one of them's got a role to play, in my opinion. But that's just, I've seen that, and even noticing, judging the field trial. I am no field trialer, but I've judged enough hunts to tell you, people need to judge hunts more, because it is not the ones that are coming around that are running it that are winning.
Yeah, I told somebody the other day, said, man, it's math. Man, a field trial's math. The more times you cross through in scoring position, it don't matter if you first 10 times, if you second through fifth, 38.
You gonna get your butt smoked.
Yeah, man, you got to stay in the middle to get scored. And you get scored properly.
And I think I heard you say it a bunch of times, just stay in scoring position. That is probably the most accurate, way to describe what a dog should do in the field trial world. And I see it all the time. People, even me, I'm a little biased to it sometimes too. Want to come by running 100-mile an hour, and I'm like, God, I think there's moving. And meanwhile, there's 4 of them just running a coat in his rump like they're supposed to. And I'm kind of side-eyeing the one that's just moving around well. And I'm like, well, that thing there moves good. Well, really what I need to be looking at is the ones that's doing the work. And I'm like, it is very easy to fall into. It's a hard trap to fall into. But I notice a lot of people value a dog's foot speed and that coming around more than I do the running ability. There's a lot of dogs that just get blended in that don't even get noticed, that are way better hounds, and they do way better. In the field trialing world, they do better too. They're in the results.
You could take the same set of dogs, same set of puppies, and go on a day like today. You know how dry it's been out here, windy, spring weather. and you can take them back after it rains next week. It'll be two totally different results. Two totally different results. And the ability to run that piece of game on a bad day, especially a coyote in a pen, they ought to be able to do that. And don't forget about your running nose, Don't forget about your running nose. It's just they can't do anything faster than they can smell him, and faster than their intelligence can tell them how to work.
Absolutely.
And the willingness, and you can talk about their nose all day long, and it's also a willingness to use it. How's that hound made? How does he want front? Does he want to do this? Does he want to do that? Putting all those dots together, that's the hard thing on a breeder. Yeah,
it's hard. It's very hard. I'm fighting it right now. I'm kind of in a lull. I mean, I got 2 young males that are by far the most athletic ones that I've raised. They got great mouths. They got more heart than they do sense, and they look like $1 million flying by. But they lack a little bit of that nose part that that we talk about. But I've noticed when we talk about the breeding thing, I'm probably gonna get crucified for this by a lot of people. I have been, when we look at breeding dogs, it is not as simple as just breeding a good dog to a good dog.
Really about looking at the ones you right now. You want the truest mark of a houndsman? It ain't winning the trophy. It's consistently breeding good hounds.
Absolutely.
Consistently. That is the hardest part of being a houndsman, is consistently breeding good hounds. And there's some clues you can use, man. It's always going to be an inexact science. Some of the best results I ever had was repeating what worked. I bought a Jip out of Virginia. I got out of dogs for like a year or two. The only time I ever been out of dogs in my life, and maybe like 14, 15, something like that. Started looking for a brood Jip. Found one out of Virginia. It crossed real well on Lake Hill Jaybird, and that style breeding. Went up there and got her, brought her back home, bred her to High Cotton Rowdy, because I think it's out of Jaybird or Little Maid or something. I can't remember. It's been so long there. I'm sure somebody listening can correct me on that, but very, very similar bred. So I went to him, High Cotton Rowdy, instead, and probably one of the better litters I've raised since I started back. And all of them, a few of them placed in field trials, but mostly they're out deer hunted outside and just dominant, man. My buddy P Dad had one named Scooter. In his prime, 3 to 5, he needed his own deer tags.
I remember y'all talking about him a lot.
He could catch a buck, man. That is no lie.
By himself.
By himself. And he wouldn't even start by himself. He just ended up by himself because couldn't nothing even stay in the same world.
There's good nothing wrong with him.
He could run a fox like that, man. He's just one of them dogs. And Bradley Brother Nick Deets, probably one of the better all-around hounds, male hounds I've ever owned.
All right, guys, we're going to interrupt the episode again real quick. The Hounds Tales podcasters would like to take a second and talk about our friends over at Cajun Lights. Whether you're pleasure running at night or judging nighttime field trials, put your trust in Cajun Lights, guys. With the economical Cajun Bayou for the every now and then light user, the Cajun Micro for your nighttime feeds, and trust me, that sucker comes in handy. And to the top level Cajun Blinder for the hardcore crossing getters. The Cajun Lights are headlights style lamps that free up your hands for voice recorders and your GPS. They offer flood style lights in red, amber, and a white walking light. Then the top of the line 4-level main beam light. If you're having a hard time catching crossings at night, give the Cajun Light a try. With the red and amber setting to catch the game with an easy flick of a switch, go right back to your main beam light, guys, and see your hounds in action. Visit their store today at CajunLights.com or check out. Make sure that you fill out the survey and select Hounds Tales Podcast to receive 5% off your next purchase from Cajun Lights. Guys, trust me, tough lights. Cannot say enough good about these guys. And Made in America products. Be sure to check them out. CajunLights.com. All right, I won't hold y'all up no more. Let's get back to the episode, guys. Here we go.
Strictly deer hound, places for field trials, younger for another boy I'd sold him to, and just a dominant running hound as well. But what I was saying, I kind of went off the tangent there, but do what works first. If you see patterns and bloodlines that cross well, do it again. You know, maybe not the same dog. Maybe don't breed back. I've seen some second litters out of the same cross and not do so well. Don't know why that is. Another rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Um,
that's can't
and
explain that.
there's some other things you need to breed for what you need, what you're lacking. Like you have females that's crazy athletic. I got a couple of them at the house. I got a red moon jip, got as much straight line speed as you could ever imagine a hound dog should have. Um, I've bred her four nodes. Bred her for noses this second time too, and those puppies turned out about almost exactly like I want them. They still lack a touch of running nose, but they got extreme athleticism. Clean, super clean, and they can run something too. But breed for what you lack in that hound, what you're shooting for. Breed the dogs out of good litters. Good litters are not a genetic accident. They're
Absolutely.
somebody did something right, and you want to pass that on in your bloodline. You can have a genetic accident, have one good pup out of a litter, and he may or may not produce, but
Drawing straw.
yeah. But that one out of that good litter, he's probably gonna throw you a pretty good hand. Breed younger gyps. The older a gyp gets, I'm a firm believer that she doesn't throw as good a puppy. I don't know why that is, but I've seen it at my own house more times than I can count.
That is one thing I've definitely started noticing.
And I don't know, like I say, I don't know why that is, but you just have some gyps that are really great breed gyps in the 4 and 5 year old range, and when they get 7 or 8 or so, the pups kind of go downhill. I don't really know why that is, and that's not always the case. Again, but, uh, some things I picked up on over the years that helped me to breed good dogs, and I enjoy studying breeding dogs, breeding good dogs. And I
I do
think
too.
that's the ultimate test of
A houndsman.
yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty tough gig.
I'm a little, and I'm sure I'm about to get crucified for this. I'm a little on the experimental side of life. I am, and I'll tell you why. We talk about Deacon. Well, Deacon's mama, at one time, some of them's gotten a little older now that I can't quite hunt so much. At one time, I was hauling 14 dogs, and 9 of them were off of her. All of them different male dogs. But Deacon's mama could not run a fox if she had a string tied to it across the highway. I mean, when I say by far a terrible dog, not worth a plug nickel. Her mates, well, would be Morgan, Linda, and May, were extremely nice dogs. Really good backbone dogs. Probably could not, wouldn't be where I'm at today without them. I kind of built a pack of dogs around them gyps. Well, they were really nice gyps, but a little bit was terrible. I mean, actually, we got rid of her and I got her back. I mean, she was too slow to be in a deer pack. I mean, the guy said she can't even run a deer. Well, that right there told me that she was just terrible. But as a young kid, I was like, well, I got Deacon's mama. Let me just breed her. And by freak accident, it worked. To whatever male dog I bred her to, it seemed to work. I got her mate straights more than I did. I don't really think I got her a lot. And then I tried it again with the sorriest gyp out of another litter. Same thing. 4 or 5 of those dogs were really nice dogs, so I picked the sorriest gyp just kind of as a experimental thing. And out of the 6, well, she had 11, but she raised 6 of them. Uh, Out of the 6, only one of them turned out to be like her, and the other ones are, kind of like the rest of the mates that were kind of good. So I talk about it all the time. But give me the sorriest gyp out the litter, and I say that as a joke. But I don't necessarily think it has anything to do with that exact dog. I think it has to do everything with the genetics of their bloodlines. I think that is what I'm seeing is not a coincidence. Like I thought it was. It was when I really start studying these dogs. Well, they wouldn't be here for one, if 4 or 5 of them was like Deacon's mama. They would have never existed anyway. It's kind of it was just it's hard. If you got 6 puppies, it's hard to have 6 phenomenal dogs. I think if you get 2 out of a litter that is, above average, I think you're pretty successful. If you cull, to my standard of culling. But I think breeding bloodline of dog, like truly studying what the dog has done throughout generations, is probably more important than anything, in my opinion.
Yeah, you got the stack. And we're in the cattle business as well here. When often in cattle business, it's they're big on genetics from everything from docility to ribeye and everything else. And they talk about cow families all the time. It's the same as dogs. They talk about stacking good cow families on the bottom, stacking. It's the same as dogs. If you stack good family after good family, you're going to end up with, if you stay true to what you want, you're going to end up with a good genetic pool that you can work with. It's very important, to keep in mind what you want or where you're going, and breed the dogs that suit what you're trying to do.
That's the number one.
What you want.
That is the that is the number one important thing when you're breeding dogs. What are you trying to accomplish? Are you breeding dogs to breed dogs? What are you trying to accomplish? Right now, I'm the style of dog that I want. I want them black and tan with white socks. I can't really control the color as much, but if we're gonna say what we want, I want them black and tan with a tail straight up in the air with white socks. I want them to sound like a freight train, and I want them to move like $1,000,000 and be able to run the brakes off of it. That is something very hard to put together, and I have had a tiny bit of luck doing it. I've got one male dog that is the closest to that. He sounds good. He looks good. He runs good. He lacks a little bit of the running nose. But by far, all around, he's the closest that I've gotten to that. Well, Maddie picks on me all the time. She's like, "Why do you like him?" I'm like, "He's what I need to move forward. Even though he's not, perfect, he's what I need to move forward." And I have started breeding these extremely cold-nosed dogs to extremely hot-nosed dogs, and it has helped me tremendously get that average of being able to have the running nose, being able to have the athletic ability, being able to be a lot tougher, and I'm about 50% with the mouth. That is something that is adding the mouth to it is probably the hardest variable that there is going to be, in my opinion.
That's why you throw with my kills, you see mixed match colors and pull miles, because the rest of it's hard enough to get without.
Oh man, it is. God, it almost, and I fantasize about it. I mean, when I sit here at night, that's all I think about. Like, it truly is all I think about. I can't even go. I ain't gonna say go hunting and not enjoy it, but I mean, every time that we go hunting, we are 100% studying every aspect of the dogs that you could possibly pay attention to and study, and it's almost like it's an addiction. It would almost be funner sometimes to not care. It's just like listen, but I feel I'm wired that way.
Sometimes I'll get home at night and I'll figure out why a dog did a certain thing at a certain time, about 6 to 8 hours later.
Yeah.
Like, dang, that's why that dog did that, because I did that.
There's a lot of variables to it. I mean, there is.
You got to study.
You got to be obsessed with it, and there's a few people that are a lot better at it than others. But I think a lot of people just breed dogs to breed dogs.
Well, a lot of people breed winners to winners and don't know if they're complementing traits or exemplifying ones that don't meet.
Right.
That makes sense. They might be a little bit wide dog with a lot of athleticism, kind of stays in the middle, to another dog that's a little bit wide, and so they got a little puppies that they're more hard to get interested, And
there's I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of stud dogs at my house now because of Maddie. And you would be surprised that the people just come breed the dogs because everybody else is doing it. They don't ask. People call me about it all the time, and they don't ask what he's done. They don't ask what he's throwing. They don't ask. They say, "Hey, you got Cowboy?" Or, "Hey, you got General?" Or, "Hey, you got Sambo?" Whatever it is. If they call me, they don't even ask, what he's doing. And fortunate enough, I've seen Cowboy run, and he is an extremely nice hound. Uh, one of the better. He has surprised me. I can't say that. And I've got to know Cody a little bit more since he's been here, and he is top notch houndsman. He knows his stuff. I can put it that way. Uh, but people don't even ask. What is he? They just come and breed to him, and I'm like, is it just because everybody else is doing it? Or I don't get that.
Well, see them winning, they want a little piece of the pie. But and on the other foot, it's hard to have a conversation with a stud hound owner a lot of the time about what traits that hound throws or is strong in. You can ask them, what about his, nose or speed, and they say, oh, he'll hunt a little bit. That doesn't really tell me anything about his individual traits that I'm looking for to see if he'll make my dog better. And it makes it difficult. What I like to do, to be honest with you, is I don't even really ask that question too often anymore.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick pause real quick in the episode. I want to talk about our partners over at Elite Nutrition. Guys, our hounds, they are athletes. They give us their all each and every time we cast them, whether it be at field trials, in the deer woods, no matter what the situation is, they give us their all. Elite Nutrition offers all natural products to give your dogs the natural benefits that they truly deserve. From the Canine Remove and all natural wormer to the Electro Boost, it's a paste that's an electrolyte replenishment. And for body fluid balance and blood flow improvement. They also have products like Active Dog Powder for recovery and joint and muscle support, Essential Dog Powder for daily vitamins and minerals, probiotics and prebiotics and enzymes, the Canine Lactate Powder for nursing dogs to help with milk supply, and there's so many more products, guys. Check them out at CajunLights.com. Click on the Elite Nutrition section to explore all the different options that they have. When you go to check out at CajunLight.com only, use the code HTElite10. That's HT Hounds Tails Elite 10, the number 10 at the end, to receive 10% off your Elite Nutrition products. Again, that's HT Elite 10 to get 10% off your Elite Nutrition products via CajunLights.com. Been using their products now for a couple years now, guys. Love every single one of them, and we'll also be taking some step forwards in promoting their each product during episodes with spotlight sections every other episode, maybe every other episode, something like that. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and thank Elite Nutrition for coming back on, guys. All right, let's get back to the episode.
I pay attention to results at certain times. And you put a hunt on the Swainsboro right now, and it ain't rained for one time in how long? And I'm sure when them dogs run down the road, it's dry and dusty. And show me them results. I'll pay attention now. Because whatever,
Absolutely.
do some winning there, you be to run something. And different stuff like that. Even like the buggy hunt y'all put on or whatever, Maddie and them. A lot of times it's hot and dry that time of year. And
it's definitely hot. The second day, I think we casted, it was like 80-something degrees. It turned into a tough dog competition, really.
But pay attention to the small stuff and see what kind of environment they in when they did move. That helps out. Helped me out a little bit. I like to look at the results of Swainsboro because when you spread them dogs out, man, you can see what's a dog doing.
Absolutely.
Too much fun back and forth and just getting right back under, and you got to get around that place.
Well, I know how far we at? What, an hour and 10 minutes now? But I feel like we ain't touched on half the stuff what we was going to talk about. But I got to go back and look at my thing here. Let's go down the field trial world right here a little bit. Let's go down this rabbit hole, because you've studied this a lot more than I have. The rule book. If you had to change a couple of the rules, you ain't got to see them. They ain't changed since in the last 4 years. Is it helping dogs get better, or is it helping the breeding of dogs get better simply because of the different situations that we are in now with the pens, or is it hurting us from the old style rule book?
don't know, man. I feel like it fits today's time because we've moved into a little bit smaller pens and this and that and the other. And see, I feel tried a little bit when the national rules were still you had to have hunting to get endurance. And then I just got to go with speed and drive in Pampa and second and third in 3 days and ended up my 10th HGO. You know? I was always a fan of the Masters back then because those boys laughed at me back then. I said, I'd rather win speed and drive than the hunt.
Right.
And I feel like it's fitting now. You know what I'd really like to see? And this bracket got me thinking about it. But I'd like to see a 8-on-8 or 16-on-16. You know, give me the top 5 on Hound of the Year. Stick them in a 50-acre pen. Give me
So I was thinking,
top 5 and
yeah,
top two move on, and then we got 4-on-4. Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit of that. Now, I don't know if anybody would ever be up for that or anything like that, but I think those rules, a little more team hunt style rules, might be what we're actually even moving to.
I would love to see.
Because, you know, new 1,000-acre pens aren't going up anymore. That's for sure.
Right. It's definitely changing. I mean, and there's nothing we can do about it simply because of, the way things are. But, it's at a certain point, you got to adapt or die. Whether you like it or not, you got to adapt or die. And much as I don't like it, I'm not going to quit hunting. But I'm also not going to quit trying to make my dog better, for the situations that we put them in. And I would love to see, I truly wish somebody would come up with a program that where I could go pull up Cowboy, for example. How many puppies he's got on the ground? What have they accomplished?
Yep.
How old are they? My whole frustration with the field trial world is behind times with the registries, it's behind times with the rule book, it's behind times with the everything surrounding it. And I understand nobody wants to have to do it. I get that. But it is getting big enough now to where it is seriously time to start having conversations about, when are things going to, get updated. Because you can go look at the coon dogs right now. I can tell you exactly how many puppies has won what. I mean, you can't lie about it. That's what I would like to see. I would love to see this side of the years, compete with each other. What you're talking about, run off for it. And it ain't always got to be for money. I mean, there's plenty of people that I feel certain that would allow 15 or 20 dogs in a 40 or 50 acre pen for free just to see, the best stud dog. Not saying it's the best producing, but the best stud dog, or the top 10 of the year, or whatever it is. It ain't always about the money, but
Just like
the money is
that bracket, man. What would you pay to see that entire bracket in their prime
run
in the same pen?
a lot of money.
I'd pay
A lot of money.
I'd pay
I would love just to just be able to judge it, and I would, because what you could learn from it would be outstanding. And put them into, you could put them in different situations. Put them in all fox pen where they got to hunt around a little bit, then turn around, put them in a racetrack. There's ways to do it. It's just, when is it going to start being a conversation to get done? Is the big thing. But there's so many different things I would love to see, like what you were just talking about. God, man, like that. How do you feel about people voting on a bracket that never seen a dog to run?
Yeah, I knew
So
Clayton.
that's what for you.
He's the most influential hound been in the sport ever, in my opinion, besides Tennessee Lead or something. But
Yeah, that's
but yeah, it just like perfect example. It was Hollywood versus PD Hope, and Hollywood was can't nobody now what Hollywood's done with the hound dog. But I remember reading articles on PD Hope when I was a kid. But, they had them write-ups in Chase about like maybe she won the NC State and the USO and something else, maybe the
she won the nationals too.
Nationals in the USO. She was going on. That's right. She was going on with few hounds that won both, and I remember them talking about it, though. And it just a freak of a hound. And and who's to say if you drop her and Hollywood off in the same race?
That who's gonna win?
Yeah. And and I don't know, man. I'll pay a lot to see them all in the prime.
I would too. But and you know who had hope, don't you?
It was Colonel Sumner,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, Mr. Tony. I actually was fortunate enough to sit down and listen to him. Now you talking about can tell a story. That fella can tell you what everybody, the color truck they drove, their name from. I mean, but we talking about dating back to, I hate to say 1920 because I don't know if he's that old, but it felt like it was that old. I mean, he could tell me stories about hunting around my house that where, they would go in and they would let the dogs sleep in an old barn, inside of the barn, and they slept in tents on the outside, and they would turn the dogs loose out of the barn, and they'd run foxes 3 or 4 days, go home, let the dogs sleep in the barn.
I
But
think
he can tell you stories like that, just back to back to back to back, and then turn around and tell you what color truck they drove back into.
yeah, I'll tell you this too, Jack. A few times I got to hunt with the Colonel Arthur Purvis. I know it didn't mean crap to him, but that was pretty special to me to be that little boy reading that chase magazine about Arthur Purvis and Highball and all these dogs and actually getting to go run a great fox with that fellow is like I said, it didn't make much matter to him, but it was everything to me. That little kid that
Absolutely,
read the chase magazine.
absolutely. Yeah, he can, and I tell you, Mr. Tony can tell you a lot of those stories now. But he'll, I actually got the opportunity to speak to his other son too, and he would tell you about when they was hunting Highball and. He'd tell them all the time, if Highball gets hit, you better be in the road with it. You better get run over too. He definitely taught more Highball than he did his youngins, which I probably don't blame him. I probably would be the same way. Uh,
Anybody ever figure out how many championships Colonel made? I thought he got to be one of the top ones.
there's no telling. There's no telling.
Yes, up
Can you imagine how many hounds that he's seen in his lifetime, been through?
And you know
How
something,
many
Jack?
foxes he got
You
in?
know something, Jack? One of the times I hunted with him, he was he 96,
90, yeah.
and he was dragging me around like I had.
See, I was telling somebody the other day about Barney. Man, that dog made some. He made the rest of my mess look stupid that day. I can tell you that.
He about run over me coming out of there after that animal. And he was running just like I want one to be running too, bro. With his head up, frame on the rail. He turned left. When he turned left, he running down. Only seen that a few times in my life, and I'd say the Colonel was 95, 96 years old and dragging my house around.
I definitely think if talk about an all around houndsman. I'm not saying that I ain't been out west as much as well. I ain't been out west at all really, but I find it hard to believe there's many people that's been around dogs that has been much better of a houndsman than the Colonel. I think what he has left behind him, the breeding of dogs that he left behind, has made a bigger impact as a whole than probably anybody. Because it wasn't just one hound, and I think Clown B was probably one of the better, probably the most, and probably to it, the most influential dog that there was. But the Colonel had several.
Do you know if he's in the
several.
Hall of Fame? No. If he
I
is,
do not. I do not. Absolutely. He should be. He definitely should be. I would just love to see him in his prime. Get talk to him and really pick his brain. About dogs. I know he tells it all the time. You don't need one fox, and you don't need one fox dog. And I kind of asked about that one day, and it was talking about Highball, and Highball, finished the deal by himself. I think a couple of times, several times, it was just one fox and one dog, and that's where he just keeps getting that saying from. You don't need but one fox and one fox dog. I don't know how many you've seen. I ain't never seen one hound be able to run a fox by himself to do anything with it.
I've seen a couple. I ain't owned but one, and she was before I broke dogs in it. So it ain't it. The list is on one hand, that's for sure. I had a jit named Pearl, man. I bought him I thought Kim I hunting with. Fine.
You're looking for dog hunting apparel to rock to your next event? Visit dogtight.com and check out the lines of shirts, hoodies, and hats just like this one up here on my head that I'm wearing right now. With looks that fit our style, comfort that is unmatched, and supporting another Houndsman as well, get your Dog Tight swag today and use the discount code Houndstales15. That's HOUNDSTALES and the number 15 at the end to get 15% off your order. Now, let's finish up this episode, guys. I promise, right here at the end of it. Thanks, y'all, for holding on tight with me.
2000 or something. If you set her down in y'all Hannah and she wasn't breathing the same air as a red fox in 5 minutes, I'd give you my truck every single time, boy. I think it's one fox, man. I ain't never seen nothing like it. I've never owned anything like it. And I'd sell everything in my house just to have her back to do what I do now, because I'd love to see it.
Do you think you could replicate it if you had it back? Knowing what you know now, do you think you could turn it into something to be generational?
I don't know. I don't know, but boy, she could. She could run one, man. Breathe the same air as a red fox.
And there's a big difference in running a red fox and gray fox, ain't no doubt. I learned that the hard way.
She was special. Ooh, boy.
That that, and I think especially, talk about the reds versus the grays. A lot of people, when they think about fox dogs, that's what they think about is a red fox and how much they stink. I've heard people say it over and over again. It was easier to run a fox than it was a deer, and I was just dumbfounded, didn't really know what to say. But after kind of figuring out the situation, they were talking about red foxes, and I still ain't gonna say that reds. It's easier to run than deer, but they definitely a lot easier to run than a gray fox. I mean, a lot easier to run. I mean, they kind of on the lines of a coyote. Them coyotes.
Natural order of things, the bigger the animal, the more they smell.
Right. Well, that's that's another rabbit hole you kind of go down, but no, as far as judging dogs, if I really want somebody to kind of explain this to me that is listening, to my knowledge, if a hound is running an animal and he loses at the road and he works it out, he hunts it up basically, he starts barking on it again, and then takes it across the road, another road for say, you could give him a hunting score, trailing score, and turn around and give him a speed and drive score after he has done lost this thing. I don't know this to be 100% fact, but I would love for somebody to explain to me how that is possible to really be able to do that.
He's not getting but one step in this speaking of that.
Yeah, that's tough. Yep. All right. So what about there's another rule. Let's talk about this hunting rule. So today, not 95 being a perfect example. It's 400 or 500 acres. Well, in my younger years, there ain't a place in that whole pen a hound can go that I can't hear you. But there'll be hunting scores given out while there's barn burning running going on. What do you think the rule should be in that aspect for a dog? When is it failure to heart and hunting? When is that line separated?
I think that's why they've gone to giving hunting scores on pickups more. Right, because that game's right there. They should hunt it up and figure it out again. But what about the dog that went across the road and didn't lose it? He never missed it. And a dog that's per se piddling in that kind of environment, He would never get a hunt score from me. He get better at heart. Um, a dog that's got enough brains that is actually hunting in a pen. If he's got enough brains, he knows there's a lot of game around. He's moving in and out quick. He's covering ground.
He ain't flipping leaves.
He's not putting his nose in the track. If he has any brains whatsoever, he's covering ground to get a piece of game done. And that's a little harder to judge. Personally, if I go, I'm just probably not going to score any hunting because it plays with a bunch of coyotes, man. It's not very wanted. Now you go up there to pools or spots, that's a whole different ball game.
Absolutely.
You're in a different environment with different game.
Different world.
That's a entirely different parameters. But I couldn't personally give too much of that in a pen like that. It just you're there for speed and drive, efficiency, in my opinion.
So let's we take that. There's an older guy, and I'm not saying any particular older guy. There's an older guy that can't hear as well, and this is the gray areas I have with field trial. He can't hear as well. He don't know the dogs are running, and he's watching his dog. He's seen a coyote come across the road and go over there in the bushes and lay down. Well, he sees this dog traveling and kind of smell that coyote, work it up and jump it. But 200 yards over there, there's a pack of dogs rolling, and he gives them a hunting score where somebody else would kind of gave him a failure to heart. Well, that's kind of a hard situation because you don't really want him to pass up a coyote, but how many times has champions been made, off of one judge where another judge would have scratched them? The gray area is there, and I'm not saying one way is right or wrong. I'm saying, there's a conversation that needs to be had to say, hey, either this is the way it's going to be or this is not the way it's going to be. Because there is a lot of, and that's hard. That's hard. I mean, and I'm not saying that I know the right way. I just, when I'm judging, I don't want to sit there and have to wonder, what am I supposed to write down here? Because I've read the rule book. I just, some of that stuff's hard to portray.
And I think that's the reason they transition to GTP and stuff like that. It's kind of take that out of it per se to a certain extent. But in my opinion, man, you're never gonna make it perfect. That's for sure. And everybody's got the same chance when they dog goes in that gate every day. And I think that's the most to be. It's judging, It's judging. It's not. It's not. I don't even make proper term. I'll probably use this, but it's not just just taking notes on what happened here. There's some judging that goes into it, and that's personal judgment. That's not, but so clear in some instances. And I don't know, man. All you can do is when you go judge it how you think it should be best judged, and the man next to you does the same. And I think fairness is good as anything because, like I said, everybody's got the same chance when they go in that team when they fill up to that gate.
Definitely. I think, just making every judge hold to the same standard. For the scratch rule, there are some people that is very vocally open about a dog stopping and getting water in a water hole versus the rule saying you got 5 minutes and you have to recast him. Well, there's some people going to pop them right away, and there's some people that's going to give them 5 minutes. You got to be lucky about which one you go to a certain extent. I mean, you got to have a little bit of grace to them. I mean, if I got my fat tail out there and run like that, I'd have to get me some water too.
They strike me
in the first hour. Yeah, that's and I think I would love a lot of people's feedback on this, but I just when is the conversation gonna be held to up the standard of the way things are held, such as the information on dogs, the registries being able to just single register dogs, or DNA dogs, or whatever it may be, and then the hunts that are going on. I would love for somebody to start something that where start getting into depth of winners versus winners. Uh, directly smaller groups of dogs. You know, hand-picked judges. Real serious. Situations where everything's on a lot more even playing field. I would love to see stuff like that, but uh, of course you can't always make that happen. But I would definitely love to see that take place
Yeah,
to a certain extent.
I'd like to see that top 10 pound of the year on face off. That'd be pretty good. Like nothing really happened, but a bracket style tournament or some sort of that, and that would be worth watching.
That would be definitely worth, and I think it would draw a lot of attention. I think it would, really. I think it would change some things. I think it really make people pay attention to what was actually doing good, what was getting lucky. Uh, that would definitely. I think it would up the game.
Figure out what got to hang on picture.
Definitely.
All right, guys, another quick break, real quick. The Hounds Tales podcast is proud to partner again with Low 10 Outfitters. If your kennel is looking for new apparel to rock to the next field trial, look no further than Low 10 Outfitters. They offer shirts, hats, hoodies, coats, and other accessories with custom logos for your kennel or your hound on it to go with it. With top quality merchandise and long-lasting quality, you can't go wrong with Low 10 Outfitters. And very soon, actually right now, we are offering Hounds Tales Podcast apparel on their website at low10outfitters.com. So please go by and check it out. There's a whole section in there under in one of the tabs as for the Hounds Tales Podcast. Get shirts, hats. We're talking about maybe adding some other stuff, but need to see if we can get some movement on the shirts and hats to start. But also, if you're looking for trophies for your next field trial, be sure to check Low 10 Outfitters out as well. So these guys have been great to deal with. Mr. Gonzalez and them, they do a great job, fast turnaround, top quality equipment, and you just can't ask for better, guys. I want to thank them again for coming on board with the Hounds Tales podcast, and I won't hold you all up anymore again. Let's get y'all back to your episode, guys.
Definitely. But, well, to kind of, I guess, to wrap things up here, is there anything you want to close on or kind of say?
No, but I appreciate you asking me on here. I feel like there's a lot better hunters and houndsmen than me that deserve have their voice heard. But I appreciate you asking. That's for sure. I've hunted with a lot of great hunters and houndsmen in my time. And,
well, I appreciate you coming on. One thing that we didn't hit on right quick was the Sport Dog Association. I know we kind of hear it all the time, but there's a lot of people fighting. Oh man, just make sure you're doing your part.
Oh, absolutely. My whole family's a member, and we attend the banquet every year, and I try to talk to other people into doing it, man. I think Mr. Paul does a wonderful job. I don't think he could
Wonderful.
ask for a better person up top than him. And that's just outside looking in and knowing Mr. Paul from my former years of field trial and all. And
he's a good fella.
Always know you're representing all of us. Anybody that's got a dog box in the truck, you're representing all of us at any given time. And sometimes do the right thing. Do the right thing. The modern day deer hunter, man, is the ruination of a lot of different things. And I'm as guilty as anybody. My family still hunts, and I used to still hunt a little bit. And to me, that's the easiest sport in the world. The easiest sport in the world. But at the same time, they got a right to do what they want to do as well, and just do a little extra to stay out of their way. Our club, for example, what we try to do, we got 2 blocks with private land in them. We don't go in them or near them before till 8:30, 9 o'clock in the day, and 2 hours before dark, and we don't go in them or near them. And why not just do that? Just stay away from there when they're in the tree stand.
Right.
Little things like that, they can really help you out. Go have a conversation with your neighbor. That goes a long ways. We found out.
Talking to him.
Yeah,
it's probably
hey, can we do anything to make the relationship better? Can we do this? Can we do that? Join your Sport and Dog Association. Be active. It's a different world now. It's even more of a different world since COVID. We got a lot of new transplants moving in a lot of places, and they don't particularly want to understand this and probably never will. But do your part. Have a conversation. Better place for your kids.
Yep, I agree, brother. I sure agree. Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad you come on. It was nice to have a conversation with a like-minded fella. Something different.
I'll always
What?
talk Hounds. You can believe that.
That's a fact. Well, I sure appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.
All righty, that is going to wrap us up for this episode. We'll be back to the Hounds Tales podcast next week.
And where Kai go?
Kai disappeared. And as you can see, Walker's still joining me, and we are...
here's Kai.
Yes, there's Kai.
And you don't want to dog because he's a dog.
Yeah. Tell them where we're going to go here in a couple weeks. We're going back to the what?
Fox pin.
That's right. That's right. We're going to get you back in there.
Hey.
But thank y'all for listening so much. I appreciate y'all bearing with me on a couple of these things. It's a busy year, and it's...
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much.
Close the gate.
Drop the gate.
Drop the gate.
That's right. All right, guys. We are going to sign off of here. Thank y'all so much for listening. And like always, guys, happy hunting. Say happy hunting.
Happy hunting.